Welcome! Jagex, the developers behind RuneScape and old school RuneScape, just released their new Gielinor-inspired survival game into alpha on Steam for $30. Should you buy it? Let's take a look. So what is this game? If you want my final verdict without the context, then check the timestamps in the description so you can jump forward. Now, from a sky-high view, Dragonwilds is an open-world survival multiplayer game. A lot of buzzwords there. What does that mean? You'll find it similar to games such as Valheim, Terraria, Minecraft, and a whole slew of other games in the genre, but of course, this one has a RuneScape-themed twist on it. The main drive to this game is to hunt down different dragons, either solo or in a group of up to 4 people, until you finally take down the big bad queen dragon at the end. It is in alpha, so this whole storyline is not fleshed out, but there is a dragon to take down, so don't you worry. So, what are the big features of this game? You've got basic character creation with a few options in each of these different things. World creation doesn't have anything to it right now besides enabling multiplayer or not. Again, you can have up to 4 people join you though, which is cool. Once you jump into it, you'll notice several of the survival staples. You've got some hunger, some thirst, and a strength meter, plus a health bar and stamina. These things will have to be maintained if you want to keep living in the world. Speaking of the world, let's just take in the aesthetics. Visually, it's very different from the RuneScapes. It's got a sort of cartoony vibe, but not so much so that you're gonna really feel it. You can definitely tell in the various elements of the world that they are RuneScape inspired. The character outfit is reminiscent of the classic bot look. You'll find these anima rune fountains that look inspired by divination. You'll even end up opening stuff like lodestones later into your run for fast traveling around the map. So you'll see more RuneScape references everywhere out in the world as you're playing. Also, I love the soundtrack with it. Just listen to this. RuneScape music, but made more melodic, more instrumentally interesting, if you will. Very cool, definitely passes the vibe check. In terms of the size, this world has multiple biomes you're going to be making your way through. Each offers slightly different assortments of materials and enemies, plus a few dungeons, aka vaults, that you can traverse for rewards. I'll talk a bit more about each of these things in the next section. Now, jumping into some of the more core gameplay related elements, much like other survival games, you're going to be spending a lot of time gathering materials, building up bases, and crafting items to increase your strength. Very basic gathering can be done by interacting with stuff like these red berry bushes or getting water from the lake, but more advanced gathering is done with tools and magic, which is going to be a huge part of this game's identity, but we'll circle back to magic when we talk skills later on. Everything tool-wise has a durability meter, though I didn't really find this slowing me down any. In terms of what you'll be gathering, you'll have wood cutting, mining, and rune crafting. Don't worry if you come from RuneScape. Rune crafting in this game is basically just mining, and all of the resources are stackable, so it's not the same level of pain that you're used to. Next up, let's look at the building and crafting systems. All those materials you've been gathering up can be used to make things. The building system can seemingly be used anywhere. You don't have to have like a workbench or some other crafting facility in order for it to work. Just pick the thing that you want and place it. The options for placement are pretty simple, but effective. There's also a ghost mode, which essentially lets you build without the materials. You can then come back through and build those things once you've got the supplies. It's a nice little feature in this game. To give you an idea of what you can look forward to, here is my starter house from the first hour of gameplay. It's basically a big version of the Lumbridge Swamp Shack. And as you'll progress, you get access to more things. So you can see this little village that my buddy Azikrai built for us a few hours into the game. As for crafting, you have got a butt-ton of facilities for making and processing stuff. You can make tools, armor, weapons, cook food, make potions, pretty similar stuff to other survival games. Okay. Next on the chopping block is combat. There are 3 combat styles you can use in the game: melee, magic, and ranged. Melee is the only one that can level up right now, but magic already feels pretty strong anyway, so let's take a quick look at each. Melee can do some good damage, but since you are standing next to the enemies most of the time, you tend to wind up being the tank. As you level up the related skill, we'll talk about skills soon, I promise, you'll get more abilities to help you tank enemies. Better shielding, the ability to parry, things like that. For magic, you can use either air or fire spells right now. Each has a slightly different combo. Air is more focused on quick singular attacks that can stagger enemies, whereas fire is focused more on like AoE explosion type of stuff. Since you can't level magic, there isn't much more than this, but even without the level system, it is quite strong. For range, it's a bow and arrow. You can aim for precision shots, and they do have kind of like a crit mechanic if you go for things like headshots, or you can spam shoot from the hip. This one felt like the weakest out of the three to me, so we'll probably just have to wait and see what sort of power it gets with the leveling system later on. For both ranged and magic, there is a sort of auto lock system in the game. You do have to be looking towards what you're trying to hit, and it has to be within a certain range of where you're standing. You'll know it's active when you see this little target icon thing show up on stuff. While we're on the topic of combat, there are a lot of different enemies in the game for you to fight, but they kind of fall into two categories: ranged dudes and melee dudes. Creatures seem to just about always fall into the melee dudes category. Stuff does get tougher as you progress farther into the game, and there are enough subcategories to make things feel somewhat varied. Things like wolves, for example, they tend to be much faster than, say, a goblin brute would. That sort of deal. The last thing that I want to mention before we talk about skills is the quest system. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a ton in the way of quests. You've got an optional tutorial quest, the main quest line, and a handful of side quests if you happen to find them. It's a nice way to give a bit of direction in the game, and you do get rewarded when you complete them. It can be information, items, resources, XP, that sort of deal. Very reminiscent of RuneScape questing, if you ask me. And yeah, you can be a spacebar warrior for all of those dialogues if you want. All right, it's time to talk debatably the biggest thing in this game, the skills. Everything has a skill that goes from level 1 to, you guessed it, level 99. Now, for the alpha, you really only want to go up to like level 30, 40, 50, depending on the skill, but I digress. Generally speaking, as you do actions in the game, you'll get XP in the related skill. As the skill levels up, it'll make you better at that thing. But you also have item unlocks in the mix, abilities in here as well, and what is probably the most fun part of this game, magical spells. Magical spells can range from anything like instant gathering of material nodes, or combat enhancements, or movement things. There really are quite a lot of different spells, so much so that as you get further into the game, you'll have to pick which ones you actually want to keep on your spellbook, which kind of functions as your hotbar. This wheel right here, as many spaces as it has, isn't even enough to hold all of the spells, not to mention that most of these skills still have 60 plus levels to be fleshed out, so I bet we're going to see even more spells as this game gets more development. Personally, I think spells really add a lot of flavor and variety to the general gameplay. I'll talk about this a bit more specifically in the next section, but just know it's a lot of fun getting to blow up trees for lots of XP and logs. That is it for the basic rundown, if you can call it that. So let's talk about what I like. The skill level up system, or loop, feels really good. The spells do a great job of varying up the gameplay and also really enhancing whatever part it comes from. Gathering spells, for example, speed up your XP and also make gathering so much faster. Just look at how woodcutting progresses. You start by picking up twigs and then chopping and then overhead chopping, and then you get a spell that auto chops down multiple trees at a time, and finally ending up with a spell that blows up chopped down trees for instant XP and all the logs you would have gotten. It's a really great way to avoid a lot of the tedium that you see in similar games without it having to be like a straight sandbox mode with unlimited resources. Speaking of unlimited resources, I love the ghost build mode. Being able to plan things out in advance without the need for resources is great for streamlining the build process. It is so fun to have your house laid out in ghost mode, gather up what you need, and then quickly running around pressing E to build it all out. I think this is an amazing feature for this type of game. While we're talking resources, I do like the stuff that you can craft. Granted, it's still an alpha, so there isn't quite as much different armor stuffs and weapon options as I'd like, but I'm not gonna knock it points for that here. What you can craft feels pretty good. There's different trees to go down for magic, range, and melee. Cooking allows a lot of flexibility in terms of what ingredients combine together into what dishes, so you aren't forced to mindlessly farm chickens until the end of time if you don't want to. I think it's a very solid system, and I look forward to seeing them add more outputs to it. The fast travel system that you open up after your first dungeon is also very nice. You can place lodestones pretty much anywhere and jump between them. No loading screens or anything, it's very smooth, and I very much appreciate this approach. I am also a sucker for the RuneScape nostalgia, so seeing these characters I'm familiar with in new settings, the music, the visual nods to other RuneScape content, all the names of all the different materials being RuneScape stuff, that really does something for me. Now, let's talk what I dislike. Actions in this game feel a bit stiff because you are locked into place while doing the animation. It just feels clunky. If you could move your character a little, even if it's slower, I think it would make the experience feel overall better, especially when you're using the tools. Just look at me trying to woodcut this log, and there's just like the slight roll, but like you can't follow it. It just feels really stiff. The melee combat sort of gets around this by having a bit of forward momentum in the action, so while you're technically locked in for the attack animation, it doesn't give the same stiff feeling that Gathering does. But in general, I think all of the actions in this game could use a bit of a tweak. While I'm on the topic of movement, the base jump is really frustrating to use. It doesn't have enough height to really get over anything. Now, you do get a spell that increases your jump, but I really shouldn't have to use a spell to be able to hop out of the water here onto this bridge that we've built, or jump over this like tiny stone fence. Oh my god, dude. I got stuck on this multiple times and completely wrecked by goblin hordes because of it. Please adjust this. Speaking of combat, it's a bit repetitive. I know for survival games it isn't typically the main focus of the game, but I'd love to see some more variety in the enemies, more attack patterns and things like that, especially for things like the vault bosses. These are basically just big versions of the other enemies, and I would love to see a little bit more done with them. Also, while I'm sort of on the subject, there's not a great variety of loot right now. This is probably an alpha problem, so I won't go too hard on this particular point, but the chests that you can run across in the world or in the vaults, they just don't feel super rewarding right now. It seems like what you find are like recipes for building or crafting things. It's just there's not enough of them. Moving on to the crafting system, it's a bit odd because there are just so many crafting facilities that you're expected to build and interact with. It feels like too many to me, and I haven't even fully completed the game yet. It's just like, I mean, you see all of these? Am I really expected to have them all in my base? It feels like a lot. Some of these will replace others, but definitely not enough of them. So, the final verdict. Should you buy this game today for 30 bucks? Of course, the answer is a bit nuanced and it's going to depend on you, but let me give a couple of answers to help. If you love survival games and you love RuneScape, just buy it. Even with the content in here now, you're probably going to be getting north of 20 hours of enjoyment out of it. So there really is quite a lot here. And the base systems that are in here are very well polished. Now, I very much fall into this category myself. You can't stop me from taking my starter axe, chopping the same ash tree until I'm like 99 woodcutting before I finally start the main quest line. So if this is you, go for it. I don't think you'll regret it. Honestly, if this is you, you probably already bought it. You don't need me to tell you. Also, I'll say if you're someone who wants to support this type of game from Jagex, even if you don't think you'll play it until a few updates, I can't think of a clearer signal to the studio than just buying into the alpha. They've got some clear roadmap items lined out. Currently, they've said the game will launch sometime in early 2026. So sure, pick it up now to show the support, grab the few like early buyer alpha cosmetic kind of things that come with buying the game early. I'd say, you know, why not? Now, if you don't fall into those two categories, don't get it yet, just wait. You've hopefully gotten a good picture of the core mechanics in this video. That can give you an idea of if you'll like this game or not. But wait for more content, wait for more polish, wait for more options. You'll have a better experience as they push out more updates in the coming months, or once it has been officially released. I think especially once they've expanded the skills more, that'll really increase the depth of the experience that you're going to get out of this game, particularly with adding mage and range so you have more good combat options, things that you know you can stick with and not necessarily feel guilty because you're not leveling those things up. I have now spoken my piece, so what do you guys think of this game? Are you picking it up now, or are you waiting to see where it goes in the coming months? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, just know it was available a couple of days early for folks who are subscribed to my channel membership. So if you want to see all of my content a little bit early, make sure to check that out. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next old school video.